Everyone, remain calm.
Yeah, that's how it always starts. And later there's running and screaming.
Somebody talk to me! What is happening?
Welcome to Jurassic World.
You're listening to the Jurassic Park podcast.
You want to consult here or in my bungalow? Hold on to your butts.
Well, we're back.
Hello, and welcome to the 43rd episode of the Jurassic Park podcast. I'm your host, Brad Jost, and we are here to discuss all things Jurassic Park. In this episode, we have a great audio clip from Richard Attenborough, an awesome chat segment in the Visitor Center where Michael Pearce from the Jurassic World 3D project joins us to talk about his project, and we'll wrap it up with a listener email. Let's get this show started off as we head into the depths of our audio segment.
Hold your fire, do not fire!
God creates man. Man destroys God. Man creates dinosaurs. Boy, I hate being right all the time.
We're gonna have to drop the can! Are you ready? 1, 2, 1!
In the audio segment this week, I wanted to play a great clip I came across recently from the Glasgow Film Theatre where Sir Richard Attenborough attended a Q&A back in November of 2008. The segment from the Q&A I have here is Richard talking about the casting of John Hammond and also an interesting bit about the original inclusion of John Hammond in Jurassic Park 4. Take a listen.
Well, the chap was asking if there would be a fourth Jurassic Park film.
Well, I would love it to be. I'd like the money. Stephen was over 2 or 3 weeks ago, and I remember the very first time I met him. I thought this great film director and so on, and that he was coming to London and wanted to meet me, and he took me to breakfast at the Dorchester, and I remember he came in for breakfast with one of those baseball caps on, which isn't really the way you go into the Dorchester, but he was Steven Spielberg, and we sat down and he talked to me about Jurassic Park. And he said, I want you to read it, he said, I want you to read the script, please. And he said, I do assure you, I can't go on with the movie until I've cast John Hammond. The picture hangs on him in credibility, and I wondered whether you would be prepared to read the screenplay. And I said, Mr. Spielberg, if you asked me, I'd read the telephone directory and still say yes. He's the most delightful. Anyway, the answer to your question is that he talked to me about Jurassic Park 4. There have been 3, and he's now got a new script, and so that if it goes well and the pyrotechnical stuff works out, he's going to do the 4th next year, and I shall be able to pay my gas bill again. The journey.
So, as you just heard, he basically mentions a Jurassic Park 4 that never came to fruition. It's heartbreaking to listen to him talk about the possibility of getting the chance to do it, because, as we know, he never got that chance. But anyway, I really enjoyed that clip, so hopefully you did too. You can find a link to the entire video in our show notes. Let's open up the doors to the Visitor Center, where Michael Pearce joins me to talk about the Jurassic World 3D project. This week, I wanted to showcase one of the talented members of the Jurassic Park community, so I brought in Michael Pearce, or for those of you on Twitter, @AtomicPang, the creator of the Jurassic World 3D project that's been spreading around the community. So, like every guest I bring here into the visitor center, I got to ask you one question to start off. If you were trapped in a kitchen with a raptor, what would you do, and will you make it out alive?
Oh God. I probably wouldn't make it out alive, especially because I'm very unfit. So I don't know. Tim and Lex got really lucky, so...
They really did, yeah.
If I was there with someone I didn't know, I would just throw them at the raptor and run.
Yeah, you always need a little sacrifice to throw in front of you, right?
Yeah.
It really is a tough situation. Like you said, they were so lucky. You know, they were lucky that raptors couldn't tell a difference between real life and a reflection. And you know, so and the one got trapped in the refrigerator, so they got super lucky. So not every one of us would be the same.
Exactly.
So why don't we start it off here, and why don't you just tell everybody a little bit about your Jurassic World 3D project?
Yep. So I'm Michael Pearce, and I think it's been working on this project for about 8 months now.
Wow.
And for people who don't know what it is, basically it's a way for people to explore our 3D model of Isla Nublar with Jurassic World, and it has we just added the old the old visitor center from the original Jurassic Park, and we're gonna be adding more dinosaurs soon. We already have the Mosasaurus, which has all the animations and stuff, and it's just a really cool way for people to explore the 3D model. So it's not technically a game because you can't really like do much in it, but it's still neat to look at and stuff. So yeah,
I definitely agree. It is awesome to look at, and the graphics are so cool. You know, it has that I guess you would say cartoony look to it, but that's not something bad about it. It's awesome. I think it looks great. I love the style. And those touches that you just mentioned, the addition of the visitor center, the old visitor center looks awesome. I saw you working on that, posting some pictures online recently, so that's great. And I really do love that Mosasaurus that's in the pond there. That's so cool.
Yeah. Well, we definitely did consciously choose a certain style because, especially with Unity and our skills, like we have a 3-member team.
Okay.
And I work on most of it. We have another guy who does the dinosaurs, which is Andreas. And then our third guy, he just helps me with a bit of the base models here and there when he has the time. But yeah, we're all pretty much new to 3D modeling, especially me. I only started using Unity maybe 3 years ago, so we're still kind of getting the grasp of things, but
wow,
we're doing pretty decently, and we've definitely improved since last year, which is crazy. So yeah,
I'm sure you guys have put so much work, and like you said, 8 months now. You definitely learn, concepts over time, so that's really cool. And somebody, with an untrained eye for something like you said, Unity, right? I have no concept of how you make this essentially. So to me, it looks like you guys know exactly what you're doing, and you're basically pros from the start. So I love the way it looks. I got a chance to just kind of do the tour itself. You sent me some videos over, and it's just so cool. Like to see the main street and to see the innovation center and just the mountains rising up off the island and that Mosasaur, like I said, it's so cool to see this stuff actually in action. And the monorail is actually really cool too, to see that moving. So I got to give it to you guys. It looks awesome. And how can people go about downloading this, or what do they need to play, or not play, but just to tour around this park?
Well, people can go to our website, which will probably be in the description below. It's still a very early website. We're still working on it, but it gets its job done. From there, you can either go to the download link, and you can download it for Windows, PC, or Mac, depending on which system you have. You do need a fairly decent computer to run it, because we were never really intending for this, because we never really knew that we were going to release this when we started it. So we made all the models really, high detail and stuff, and that's really system heavy to run in real time.
Yeah.
So when we started making it into an actual playable thing that we released, we had a few frame rate issues and stuff, but we are working on them, and they've already improved since the first version, so people will be able to start playing it more and more. But yeah, you can download it from the website, and from there you can even see different like screenshots. There's the gallery where you can get a glimpse at like the main street and the Mosasaur arena and stuff. And there's even a forum there where you can type in your your experiences and stuff and share it with the community.
Yeah, that's a great aspect of it. I think. What has the reaction been so far? Because from what I've seen, people are loving this thing.
Yeah, it's being really overwhelmingly positive. Like, we never expected this. Like, this is probably the most I've ever had success with something online, because like I've had other projects and stuff in the past, but the community is just so like loving it, and they enjoy, like, I get emails like every day saying like, oh, thank you for creating like, a place where I can explore Jurassic World, because a lot of people's problems with Jurassic World is that they didn't really get to see the entire park. They didn't get to see like the aquatic park and stuff like that in detail, but now they can actually go around and do all that.
Yeah, that has been a bit of a complaint from the movie itself, is so much of this was built physically in a real place, according to like Main Street, when you look at all that, and we didn't really get to spend too much time there. So this 3D model gives you the ability to kind of go in and out and to look at all these different aspects. So that's really cool. I absolutely love that aspect of it.
Yeah, exactly.
So what exactly pushed you and the other guys to start building this?
Well, I started the project, it was just before the movie came out, and before then I was using Unity for a while, but I said, there's like 2 weeks to go till Jurassic World, what should I do in celebration? I know, let's try to recreate the Innovation Center. So I did that successfully.
Daunting.
Somehow. Yeah, it was very daunting. I think to today, that's still probably one of the most complex buildings I've ever done. And yeah, I just made the Innovation Center, and it wasn't as good looking as it is today, because I've definitely improved it since then. But yeah, I basically, from there, once I did that, I got a lot of feedback from like people in my family and friends and stuff. They're like, oh, this is really good, you should like make Main Street. And then I started like doing the path, and I did a few of the buildings and stuff, and it just kind of all evolved from there, and eventually I did the island, and now here we are. So yeah.
Yeah, so, and that's 8 months worth of time. How long do you actually like work on this, like per day or per week? Do you spend a lot of hours doing it?
Well, I definitely do it at least once a week, I found, but usually, I think I usually do about 3 days a week, and I spend maybe 12 hours on it each day.
Wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. Like, you just kind of get lost in, like, this mode where you're just like, oh, I'll just start this thing, and then, like, 12 hours later, like, the sun's risen and it's the next day. Ugh.
Yeah, I know exactly what that's like when it comes to, editing, like the podcast, and I do a lot of video editing. You just kind of lose yourself in the process, and you have a lot of fun with it, so I can imagine that's exactly the same.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, you throw on a movie in the background or listen to some music, and then you get lost, and it's great.
Yeah, now you said you started doing this just before the movie came out, so I actually was wondering, even after the movie came out, what sort of materials have you guys been using to base your creations off of? Because, like you said, we didn't really get to see every aspect of the island, so what are you using to model each section off of?
Yeah, well, we had to get a lot of our reference points were obviously from the movie. We got like screen caps from the Blu-ray, and that helped a lot because you can actually the CG is really detailed, so that did help us a lot. The hardest thing was working out the layout of the park before the movie release, because we didn't get we had to rely on trailers and stuff, and even within the trailers, like, they changed a lot, like a monorail and like at one point the hotels didn't even exist, like until halfway through the trailer. So like, that was really difficult. But once the movie came out, that really helped. And then I think what was our biggest help so far is the behind the scenes with the CG of the park, where they did that whole camera pan and you could see like the aquatic park and stuff. I like have an entire folder that just has every single frame of that video in detail, so then I can like look at every aspect of the park. And yeah, I've still got so much detail to put in, but it's a very detailed park, and the reference points were the hardest things, because like there's so much concept art out there, but the concept art is like different designs but kind of similar, and like do you base it off the movie or the concept? And
yeah, you know, it's like that argument of canon versus non-canon. When you see this stuff, you get the concept art and stuff. We saw a Brachiosaurus area. I believe there was like a raptor den, all kinds of stuff like that you didn't get in the movie. So that's obviously some cool stuff that could be added down the road sometime. And you know, like you said, the detail is insane. The stuff that they actually built and the stuff that they layered on with CGI, I'm sure you guys could, you know, either critique yourselves or, you know, just continue to add things here and there. And this could, you know, take you forever. So I don't know if you guys have an end game in sight, but hopefully this keeps going on and you guys keep putting some awesome work into it.
Yeah, I think the hardest question we've always had from people is like, when is this project gonna be finished? We don't even know. Like, I've always, every reply that I've done onto YouTube comments like that, I'm always like, well, like, it's always an evolving progress and we have no idea when it's gonna end, but it's at least going to, like, it won't be done this year for sure. So that's like the best answer I can give.
Yeah, I'm sure at sometime you guys will get tired of doing all this, maybe. But you know, for now, it's so much fun to kind of see the progress of all this stuff, because you know you've posted pictures when you, like the visitor center, for instance, you kind of did it like unlayered without all the decay and everything on there, and then all of a sudden you post a picture of, you know, vines all over it and other things. So it's really cool to see that progression and to see all the work you guys are putting into it.
Yeah, speaking of the old visitor center, I think that was probably the hardest thing I've ever had to do, not just because the building's so complex, but because, as you said, like canon, like type of material, like, you know, in the movie Jurassic World, when they saw the old visitor center, they only saw the door, and we didn't really get to see the entire building. And like even the stairs, they go up quite high, but in Jurassic World, like, it seemed like all of it was covered with like ground and dirt and stuff. So
yeah,
I had to like kind of leverage between like that fine point between, you know, should I purely base it on what we see in Jurassic World, where it's just kind of like a door, like how much is decayed, like our buildings like collapsed, or it's quite frustrating. I wish we did see more of the old visitor center in Jurassic World anyway, like totally separate, because that bit was amazing. So
yeah, I know, you know, people had issues with the film here and there, but one of them always comes down to that scene. It was such like an anticipated scene, because, you know, a lot of people in the community knew it was coming, and when we actually got there, it was awesome what we got, and I'm happy with it. But like you said, it is kind of a letdown that we didn't get to see more, or, you know, spend more time there, or to actually get the visitor center that we knew, because on the outside, like you said, it's so different, you know, and you do only really see that door. But the steps, for instance, like you mentioned, there's something wrong there. You know, they're not at the same level that they should have been at when they come away from, I believe, that what was a crashed golf cart looking thing. It's just they're at a strange level, and then they only step up a few stairs. But you know, when you watch the original movie, there's a lot more stairs. There's a lot more things like planters and different items surrounding those stairs that you just didn't see in the movie. So it was a real missed opportunity, I think.
Yeah, and like we still don't even know an accurate representation of like, you know, the back of the visitor center. So like they went into the garage through that door, but that door in the first Jurassic Park just leads to the kitchen. So like that doesn't make sense either, and I don't know. yeah. You know, I think they did the best job they could. I don't know. I guess maybe they could have
tightened it up a little bit, but I don't know if they're too concerned with canon at this point when it comes to going through certain doors or not, but yeah, like you said, when you go off to that, I think they went off to the left-ish, right? And that should have been where the kitchen was. Yeah, makes a lot of sense. But you got to kind of come up with your own creation when it comes to this. So that's got to be a hard part, like you said, when you're creating something that you don't necessarily know what it was supposed to look like. You gotta kind of have to create your own aspect of it. So that's got to be kind of tough.
Yeah, it definitely is. But something that was really fun, as you said before, I created the visitor center just as it normally is, and then I put it into the park and made it look all old and overgrown, and that was really fun, like ripping the doors off and like putting them on the ground and like adding fog and water and stuff. That was fun.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting. What do you plan on doing? Because when we saw it in Jurassic World, we didn't see any of the there was like a little pond there or some sort of body of water in the first movie, and we didn't get to see that at all. So you're gonna try to do your own kind of creation when it comes to stuff like that right there?
Yeah, well, I've added the pond, and it's like all muddy and like
okay, cool,
old looking, and there's trees overgrown in it, because I thought the pond was a really iconic thing, even though it's just so simple. And I was really confused, like why would they remove that from the original one? Like it makes sense, like it could have been like filled up with whatever, but it's such an iconic part. Why would they do that? Yeah,
I mean, somebody I think online mentioned maybe the only thing we can kind of go by is that maybe there was a mudslide, but I don't know where this mudslide would have come from, because I don't really remember any high land anywhere around there. It was all pretty even leveled with the building there. So yeah, that's just a kind of random aspect I guess you could give it, but it doesn't seem that happened. But you said this was probably one of the hardest aspects of creating this process?
Yeah, probably, because it's always easy to go off material we already have. If you kind of have to fill in the gaps, it's really difficult, because, you have all this pressure, like, oh, should I do this, or should I go too creatively, or like, what if it's not creative enough? And you have to find that balance.
Yeah, because people are nitpicky. That's what it comes down to, And like I said, everybody's debating as to what it should look like in the movie itself. Not necessarily, your creation here, but people are nitpicking about, certain aspects of the film. So, when it comes to a fan community, you kind of have to expect that aspect of it.
Yeah, definitely.
So, let's bring it over to the movies, actually. When were you first exposed to Jurassic Park?
Well, me and my brother, because I'm 18 and my brother's 21, we watched Jurassic Park, I think when we were 4 or 5. We were really young, and what was so funny is because my dad and my mom let us watch Jurassic Park, even though it was terrifying and like always had our eyes covered and stuff, because it was so scary. And our other family members were like, oh no, you shouldn't do that, they're just kids and stuff. And like, we ended up being like such big fans of it, and like here I am creating a project, and like, it didn't scare me, like it was very scary, but like it didn't harm me in any way, but I just thought that was always funny. Like, my favorite movie of all time ended up like, they were saying, oh, don't watch it.
Yeah, that is a pretty hot topic with a lot of people now, especially because a lot of the original fans, back when it actually came out, they're all getting old and having their own kids, so it is a pretty hot topic as to when you should let your kids watch the movie. And 3, 4, 5, anywhere in that range seems like it could be too young. But I know I was probably in the range of 6, 7, or 8, probably 7 more so. But that's just because that's when it came out, when I was 7 years old. But I think it would be okay if you kind of ease into it. Maybe if you have to skip some of the parts that are a little bit more gruesome or scary like that. But I'm glad you weren't scarred, and now we have your addition to the community to look forward to.
Yeah. No, but we've really grown up with these movies, and I think that's what makes like people my age who did grow up with it so special, because it's more than just a movie. It's like a movie that you've had pretty much for your whole life. Yeah. And we have pictures of me and my brother playing like the Jurassic Park PlayStation game, like on PlayStation 1, and like we played Operation Genesis when it came out. I got that for like my 7th birthday, and that was the best thing in the world.
Yeah.
I wish we had another Operation Genesis. Like, don't get me started on that.
Yeah, it's such a missed opportunity with so many fans and hardcore fans, and everybody was anticipating some sort of release, gaming, a release, but we didn't get anything real substantial. So that kind of stinks. But so if you're gonna rank the movies, what are you gonna put them in?
Oh, this is tough. Well, as much as I like Jurassic Park 3, that's gonna go on the bottom. And it's really, for me, it's between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. And it's really hard to judge because I obviously have that nostalgia aspect of Jurassic Park, and Jurassic Park is an incredible movie. But at the same time, I feel like there's a lot of content, there's a lot more content and more new ideas in Jurassic World, so I might have to rank that first, then Jurassic Park, The Lost World, and then Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
But it's really difficult. I love them all, so don't make me pick.
Yeah, it is hard to rank them. And I think over time your kind of opinions change here and there. So, obviously my favorite is the first one, and you hit the nail on the head. It's the nostalgia. It's such an amazing film, and it has been around forever. And it's crazy how, we all kind of dedicate portions of our lives to this movie and this franchise. Because when I was 7 or 8 years old, I didn't imagine I would be, doing a podcast about it in 20 or so years. So that's kind of crazy. And I'm sure you didn't think you'd be creating a 3D project. So it's awesome, that it sprouts this kind of creativity.
Yeah, exactly. No, I never would have thought as a kid that, like, in 12 years or whatever, I would be recreating the entire Isla Nublar and stuff like that. But I'm really glad I did, because it's incredibly fun.
Yeah, I was recently. I think I did an episode on it just recently about the park maps themselves. There's so much debate about where things are located. Like when you look at, like we were kind of talking about before, the canon of everything and where things are located. It's so strange when you compare park maps from the original movie, park maps from Jurassic World. Try to line up everything. Some things don't really match. Some things do. Have you ever debated what to do about that when it comes to your 3D thing?
All the time. No, the park maps are probably the most infuriating thing I've had to deal with.
Yeah.
Because there's so many inconsistencies, and I think the problem is they make these maps like halfway during production, and the park layout itself changes all the time until the movie's released. Like for Jurassic World, for example, we got that park map before we even got the first trailer or whatever.
Yeah.
And like the monorails, the monorail has always been the most confusing thing because it changes on every single material, even within the movie. It seems like sometimes it changes. But yeah, the park design on the Jurassic World map that we got first was based off the concept art, which is completely different from the final CG design. So that was really confusing. And then, as you said, it's even worse when you think of the original, Jurassic Park map. There were mountains everywhere. Apparently, they somehow got rid of acres of mountains. I don't know how the heck they did that. And then there's things where do I place the original visitor center? Did they move it? Because it's located differently than it was in the first movie, and it's very confusing. But I've kind of done my own version based on every single material out there that I could find. So
yeah,
I think I've got somehow I've got a more accurate map than the movie production itself. So
yeah, it is very confusing. I tried to analyze that whole old visitor center area, and it's confusing when you look at it from the movie standpoint, because you see the kids go off the grid and they get attacked, and then they jump into the water and come out, and a few minutes later they're at the visitor center. So you kind of assume that they're in that restricted area, right? But when you look at the Jurassic World website, the visitor center is much lower, and it's in the vicinity of where it could have been in the first movie, depending on what map you're looking at. But it's just so weird because then you kind of have to go by deleted scenes when you see the kids doing a lot of walking, which I think it would have taken place after that whole jump into the water scene. So it's very confusing and so much to analyze, and you can kind of overanalyze it, I guess, but it's very tough.
Yeah, well, there's definitely those deleted scenes with Zach and Gray are walking through the restricted area, and yeah, they are in the restricted area because they start off in the Gyrosphere Valley, then they go through the gates into the restricted area. So it seems like they've somehow moved the visitor center into the restricted area, which is on the top of the island, which I don't know how the heck they did that, but apparently they did that for whatever reason. And then what confused me, like especially recently, because I've had to like decide where to place this, and I ended up placing it in the restricted area on the right of the island. But what confuses me the most is when they go to the visitor center and the Indominus Rex is there and stuff, they run out to the aviary, and they say that's, what was it, north or something? So like it's supposed to be like right next to the aviary, but that's completely in a separate area, and there's not even mountains or anything. Like there's an entire hill, but where did that hill come from? And then at the same time, the kids are driving away from a Jeep in an area that's not even near the aviary, and then there's like the park gate number 5 or whatever that they pass through, where the guy's like, that's the first, and like, where's that? But you can see the innovation center in the background just barely, but like that's not on anything, and very inconsistent. So, it kind of makes you very angry as somebody who kind of looks at all this different media that we have, whether it's a map released during production or the one on the website or just the movie in general. And I think I've come to just kind of accept that deleted scene as canon, where we see them traversing pretty far. They're going under the treetops. So in my mind, my headcanon, I'm assuming that somehow they jump into the water in the restricted area somewhere, and then maybe venture back into the park area through Gyrosphere Valley, and somehow go over to the visitor center, which is cradled between the monorail. If you look at the park map on the website, it's like in between there. So it's the only thing I can come up with, and it kind of satisfies me in the end, I think. Well, you pinned the nail on the head. It's very frustrating, when you actually have to decide, and then especially hearing people in the community being like, oh, well, you placed it in the wrong area. It's like, well, you don't know how much research I've done.
And that aviary too, I think that thing looks awesome, by the way. You can kind of see through it, and you can see the aspects of the inside there, which is really cool. And you said like the placement of that, we can only go by so much, and then it is there is that like ledge that Owen and Claire are looking at it on, and just to think of how they possibly traversed so far, because they weren't near each other, I don't think, if you look at certain maps or certain parts of the movie. It's very confusing. But so anyway, let's go back to your content here, because you guys plan on releasing new stuff every month, right? On the first of each month?
Yeah. So we're going to be releasing a new version in like 0. something. So the next version coming up on the 1st of April is 0.2. And right now what we know is we'll definitely be including the old visitor center, which a lot of people asked for when we released the first version. And soon we should be getting the final versions of our Raptor Blue. So that will be included. And I'll be sure to add a few animations and make Blue walk around maybe the park or the Velociraptor training area or whatever it may be. So that will be very exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. So do you guys have like an outline as to what you're going to add each month, or do you kind of just play it by ear and just like see what you want to make for that period of time?
We definitely listen to fan feedback, so if people are like, oh, you should start this area next, then we'll definitely take that in consideration. Like I said, a lot of people did ask for the old visitor center, so I definitely made sure to work on that, and I got that done in like a day, so that was really fun.
Wow.
And then, yeah, well, right now, our dinosaur lineup is, obviously we have the raptor, which is coming in the next version, but we're working on the T-Rex, which is Rexy, which will be really fun to add to the T-Rex kingdom and do all sorts of animations where it like breaks through the skeleton of the Spinosaurus and stuff. And then eventually, I think maybe in a few months, we'll probably release a dinosaur per version, is what we're looking at, because it does take about a month to do everything. And we'll also include the Indominus Rex, which is our next lineup after the T-Rex. But yeah, we're not sure what dinosaur we're going to do next. Obviously, we have like 50 dinosaurs to cover. I really do want to start filling up that gyrosphere valley with like Gallimimus and, you know, Brachiosaurus and stuff like that. That will be really, really nice to look at. So we're just trying to do stuff like that. So yeah.
Yeah, that would be awesome, especially the Brachiosaurus, since we didn't get to see them in Jurassic World. That would be awesome to see. You're not going to add any dead Apatosaurus on the in the valley there, are you?
Well, no, I was thinking like maybe we should. I'm not sure.
Yeah, you get to see the Indominus warpath as it traversed across the valley.
Yeah, exactly. No, but I think the funnest thing, like with having all these complete dinosaurs and be able to animate them in your own Jurassic World and stuff, it's so fun because, like, I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a really old video on my channel where the Mosasaurus is on the top of the helipad of the control room roaring instead of the T-Rex, and
that's awesome
because that's the only dinosaur we have right now. So that was really fun to do, and that took like an hour to animate, but it was worth it.
That's awesome. That's so cool. I gotta check that out.
Yeah.
One of the things I was wondering is since it is a park, do you plan on adding any kind of humans or people within the park?
Yeah, well, I have been experimenting with that, and obviously that will take quite a toll to the system with like having to remember all these animations and stuff. But if we can do it, we'll definitely try to do it. It does look like it's an abandoned park right now, so I definitely want to fill it up with something. I was thinking at the least, perhaps I could just add like people like kind of frozen in time there, but at least they'll be enjoying the park, and like they'll be animated, but they'll just still be stay still. So I don't know, I've got a lot of ideas, and I'll sure to give everything a try and see how it goes.
Yeah, that's got to be tough. I'm sure you don't want to bog down your system there and make it slow for everybody. You want to kind of make it as streamlined and as quick as possible. It makes me wonder, how I ever ran something like Roller Coaster Tycoon on one of my old computers back in the day. Something like that. It was so much fun to play, but yeah, I'm sure it takes a lot of processing power to do something on that level, right?
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, like even, a lot of people say like you should add more vegetation and stuff, but I literally place like every single tree, like hand by hand, and and all the trees that we have, they have like a small leaf animation, so they like sway in the wind when like playing and stuff, which is really cool. But like even like I've had to place each individual tree like based off of the reference material we have, because I want to even get the tree layout correct, which is just insane. So
yeah, I mean, look at it. We can't ask you to kind of go and make each tree on an entire island. That would be out of control. So I understand, you guys don't want to do that. That's totally acceptable in my book.
Exactly.
So aside from any new dinosaurs, is there any kind of other exclusives you have, coming up here in the future?
Yeah, well, right now we're still continuing to finish off the raptor paddock, which is in the kind of restricted area right to the island. We're definitely going to be doing a lot more of the buildings around it, and since we're getting our raptor next, we might be completing that as soon as possible, so then we can do a lot of like different animations and stuff, which will be really cool. And I know that we have to do the golf course next, which is going to be quite a big thing, and of course we didn't see that in the movie. And I've never made a golf course in my life, so this would be very interesting. But yeah, an 18-hole Jurassic golf course, so that's what's probably going to come next, so look forward to that.
Yeah, I think we're pretty lucky that we have you guys working on this and giving us the ability to see things like that golf course or, different aspects of the park. So I think, I want to say thank you on behalf of everybody in the community. It's awesome that you guys are doing this. So where can everybody find, you or anybody else working on the project and, the project itself? I know you said it was on your website. So what's the best ability to find you guys online?
Yeah, so you can find us on the website, obviously, and on our website we have all our social media links. So we have the YouTube channels, we have Twitter, we just opened up a Facebook page recently for people who don't have Twitter or YouTube, so you can follow us there. We constantly post on Twitter all the time, like probably a bit too much, of every single update that we do. So make sure to follow us there. And of course, just stay tuned, and we'll be releasing a new version of the project at the 1st of every month, so make sure to download it and explore it for yourself when it comes out on 1st of April.
Awesome. Yeah, I think we're all going to have to be patient and, expect everything, and you guys are doing an awesome job. Thank you so much for reaching out to me and including the podcast and the release of this project. That was awesome. And I know we all look forward to seeing more from you and the Jurassic World 3D project in the future. Thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you for having me.
I'm not a computer nerd. I prefer to be called a hacker.
Aren't you supposed to be a genius or something? I can't get Jurassic Park back online without Dennis Nedry. Incorporating all the latest technologies.
We shouldn't be here. And there's 5 dinosaurs.
How many Sarahs do you think are on this island?
This week we have a great email from one of our listeners, so let's take a look. Hello, I'm Anna, aka @MissClaireGrady on Twitter. First of all, I want to say your podcast is amazing and your episodes are getting better every week. My question is about Jurassic World 2's release date. We all know it's going to get released on June 22nd and June 7th in the UK. Weeks before the US release, a Godzilla sequel will come out on June 8th, in the same week of the UK release of Jurassic World 2, which means a clash of 2 big franchises in the box office, both American and global. We have to remember that both franchises are from Legendary. So my question is, do you think they should make a reschedule on the release date of Jurassic World 2? In my opinion, it's a yes for me. Thanks and goodbye. Hello, Anna. Thank you so much for sending in the email, and it's so great to hear from you. I gotta start off by saying thank you so much for the compliments. I really, really appreciate it. As far as your question goes, this is a pretty hot topic for me because I know, along with many other Jurassic Park fans, I was gutted when I heard that Jurassic World 2 would be released so far after the UK premiere. Now, I always hate when this happens because it's just so tough to stay away from spoilers for that long a period of time. 2 full weeks, it's just insane. And one of the things, I just find it so hard to stay away from those spoilers because when you're on Twitter and the internet, people are posting pictures and, putting spoilers out there. Even if you're not looking for it, you're bound to come across something. I have to imagine that they will change the date. That's just my gut feeling. It's not unheard of. Just, we just recently had a ton of films move around when Star Wars Episode 8 moved its date to December. I have to imagine that Jurassic World would garner the same amount of respect, pretty much. They made so much money, both Star Wars and Jurassic World. So I imagine it would garner the same amount of respect if it did decide to move its release date up. I imagine it will move up. Godzilla surely, will be a big film, but it will have nothing on Jurassic World 2. Jurassic World, this is a little funny stat, made more money in its opening weekend than Godzilla made domestically in its entire run. So I doubt Godzilla would stand its ground against Jurassic World. But for now, we'll just have to wait and see. I don't think we'll get a release date change until we get a title announcement. I'm going to put those two on par because they'll announce a title and hopefully they'll announce an updated date. So we have a little bit more time before that happens. But anyway, thank you again, Anna, for the great email, and hope to hear from you again soon. Don't forget, if anybody else wants to send in an email, you can forward them to JurassicParkPod@gmail.com. Or you can call our voicemail line at 732-825-7763. Thanks for listening to the 43rd episode of the Jurassic Park Podcast. Of course, I need to thank Michael for joining me here to talk about his awesome Jurassic World 3D project. I highly suggest you go check it out if you haven't already. Hopefully you have, but it's an awesome project. So make sure to follow all of his progress over on Twitter @AtomicPang. I also want to thank Anna for sending in that email. It's always great to hear from the listeners, and I hope to hear from more of you each and every week. If you want to interact with us, we do most of our work over on Twitter @JurassicParkPod. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/Jurassic Park Podcast, and our Instagram handle is @Jurassic Park Podcast. You can listen to us via iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Podomatic, and YouTube, or really wherever else podcasts are found. So make sure to subscribe to automatically get the new episodes each and every week. If you haven't already, please give us a 5-star review on iTunes or a great review wherever you listen to the podcast. It will seriously help our rankings and make it so much easier for fans like you to find us. We're usually spotted commenting on the Jurassic Park subreddit as Jurassic Park Podcast. Don't forget to check out our show notes for all of the links. If you want to get a hold of us, you can email us with any news stories, MP3s, segment ideas, pictures, top 10s, or comments to JurassicParkPod@gmail.com. If you'd like to record something for the show, send it in to us and we'll feature it in an upcoming episode. If you don't have any way to record, you can give our voicemail a call and leave us a message, or you can even text us now. That number is 732-825-7763. Thanks for listening, and enjoy.
5 minutes. Drop what you're doing and leave now.